This wasn't just a scene, it was a collision. The kind that makes you forget you're watching reality TV and instead feels like you've stumbled into a courtroom showdown where someone's about to be sentenced. Eyes didn't just meet, they clashed. Breaths weren't just held, they froze. Melody Holt didn't step into that room like another cast member clocking in for VH1 chaos. She entered like a warrior who had waited years for this battlefield, carrying wounds that never healed and a truth that refused to stay buried. This wasn't for ratings. This wasn't for gossip. This was her reckoning. And make no mistake, this wasn't the petty back-and-forth viewers had grown used to on Love and Marriage. Huntsville. This was a face-off between two women whose lives had tangled in betrayal, and never truly separated. On one side stood Melody, polished, unshaken, her presence carrying the weight of a shattered marriage and years of humiliation. On the other sat Arionne Curry, the woman who stayed silent in public but fueled headlines, interviews, and whispers that made her infamous long before she ever showed up here. But before the first word even hit the air, you had to understand the stakes. This wasn't just about Melody versus Arionne. This was about two worlds colliding, two versions of history clashing in front of millions. Melody wasn't just addressing a rival, HEI was confronting the years of betrayal that left her, asking the cruelest question, why wasn't I enough? Because Melody and Martell Holt weren't just another couple. They were the couple business partners, parents, Huntsville's so-called royalty. The type of pair that made people believe love could survive anything. But behind the Instagram smiles and carefully staged family photos was a crack that grew wider until it shattered everything. And in the middle of that wreckage stood Arionne, the woman who began as a rumor and transformed into Melody's nightmare. This wasn't just a fling. This was years. Repeated, deliberate, and brazen. Arionne didn't slip in quietly and vanish. She lingered. She spoke in interviews, shaded in comments, and twisted the knife every chance she got. And for Melody, this wasn't some petty side drama, was a war against her dignity. So when they finally stood eye to eye, the air itself shifted. No more filters. No more subtweets. Just silence heavy enough to cut with a blade. Melody didn't scream. She didn't throw a glass. She didn't need to. Sometimes the sharpest weapon is calm. You'll never be me. That's what she said. 6 words, but they landed like a knockout punch. Not cruel, not loud, just undeniable. You could feel it shake the room. Arionne fired back. She claimed she never wanted to be Melody. That Martell was the one who pursued her, but her voice cracked in the places she tried to hide. Defiance was there, but so was fear. Like someone who had rehearsed her lines, but realized too late that this wasn't a performance, it was a reckoning. And in that moment, Melody didn't just seize control of the conversations, she seized control of the entire narrative. She wasn't fighting over Martell. She wasn't clawing for revenge. She was taking back everything Arionne thought she had stolen. No screaming, no glass throwing, no messy reality TV dramatics. Just raw truth, dropped like grenades, one after the other, until the entire room froze. Nobody shifted. Nobody breathed, because everyone knew this wasn't a scene for ratings. This was real. And just like that, the power flipped. Not with fists, not with tears, with truth. Melody hadn't come chasing revenge. She came to reclaim respect. And with just 6 words, she carved her crown back. Arionne tried to keep her mask on, but silence betrayed her. Her jaw clenched, her arms folded tighter. Her eyes darted. For a second, that 1 second that gave her away. Sometimes the loudest sound is the silence of someone realizing they've just been hit with something they'll never recover from. Melody stood there like stone, unshaken, staring straight through her. No smirk, no breakdown. Just a woman who finally said what she'd been denied for years. Arionne, desperate to stay composed, forced herself into that unbothered act, but everyone saw it. This one cut too deep. Because it wasn't the insult that hurt, it was the undeniable truth wrapped inside it. Arionne knew this wasn't about winning Martell. It wasn't even about Martell anymore. It was about 2 women's lives crashing into each other, exposing everything in plain sight. Melody had built an empire life, a brand, a legacy, and Arionne, she had slid into that story from the side, never fully belonging. No matter how loud her defense, the tension snapped again when Arionne finally spat back.
Pretty much it. I haven't heard anything, had never said anything else to him about it.
To sting, but Melody didn't blink. She didn't even flinch. And you think that's something to brag about? She fired back, her voice steady. A man who couldn't even stay loyal to the woman building beside him. That was the dagger. Because Melody wasn't defending Martel, and she wasn't crying victim. She was dragging the ugly truth into the light and proving she had risen above it. This wasn't about arguing over a broken man. This was about drawing the line in blood. Arionne tried one last time to claw back ground, leaning forward. You act like you're above all this, but we both ended up with the same man. Melody didn't even hesitate. Her words were ice. No, we didn't. I had a partner. You had a secret. Big difference, and that was at the breaking point. The room shifted. A crew member whispered under their breath, "Damn." A castmate fidgeted, torn between jumping in or staying silent. The energy wasn't just tense anymore, it was heavy, suffocating. Everyone felt it. This wasn't just drama. This was history being rewritten in real time. This was never really about Melody versus Arionne, it was about everything these two women symbolized. Melody wasn't here defending a broken marriage. She was standing in her power, reclaiming everything that was stripped away. Arionne wasn't just firing back, she was trying to survive the permanent scarlet letter of being branded the other woman. And no matter how steady her voice tried to sound, the tremor in her fingers curling into her sleeves gave her away. You don't get to act like I destroyed your life. He chose what he chose. I didn't force him, Arionne snapped, trying to sound fearless. Melody stepped forward, not angry, not chaotic, but precise. You didn't destroy my life. You walked into the wreckage he created. But don't pretend you didn't know exactly what you were stepping into. Don't play innocent now. Arionne's lips parted like she had more to say, but nothing came out. And in that silence, Melody lifted her chin, exhaled slowly, and let the quiet crush her opponent harder than any insult ever could. Some battles end in shouting matches. This one ended with clarity. And the one who won wasn't the was the one who no longer needed to explain herself. When Melody finally turned to leave, the shift was undeniable. No door slam. No screaming exit. Just a deliberate, queen-like walkout that said more than words ever could. She didn't need a mic drop, she was the mic drop. Meanwhile, Arionne stayed frozen, arms locked across her chest, expression drained. The smirk was gone. What replaced it wasn't quite regret, but it looked dangerously close to realization. Maybe not about Melody. Maybe not even about Martel. But about how the game she thought she was playing had just changed. Even production froze. You could see the crew holding their breath, eyes wide, waiting to see if either woman would break the silence. Nothing. Just a pause so heavy it felt like the air was collapsing. Castmates leaned in, whispering, "Did she really just say that?" And I felt that in my chest. The outside world didn't take long to catch fire. Within hours, social media detonated. Screenshots of Melody's brutal lines went viral. Twitter threads lit up like wildfires. TikToks broke down every smirk, every glare, every micro-expression. Instagram flooded with reaction reels. And just like that, the fandom split into armies. Hashtag Team Melody versus hashtag Team Arion. And then came the memes. One showed a grand medieval castle, labeled Melody, while across from it, a cardboard shack in flames, labeled Arionne. Another had Melody's face edited onto a gladiator with the caption, "You'll never be me. Battle over." But it wasn't just jokes. People connected to this because it felt raw, like watching someone finally take their voice back after years of whispers and humiliation. Melody didn't need to clap back online. She posted nothing but a single photo, striding through a hallway in a fitted blazer and heels, captioned, "Only a queen never explains." Thousands flooded her comments. Most were praise, some criticism, but every single one was watching. Arionne did exactly what everyone predicted. She ducked behind Instagram, a cryptic story, a filtered selfie, and the hollow caption, "Unbothered, always have been." Then came the recycled quote image. People hate you when they can't break you. But the vibe didn't land. It didn't match the gravity of what just unfolded. It felt like damage control, not victory. A response for appearance's sake, not closure. Meanwhile, the world outside exploded. Podcasts dropped emergency breakdowns within hours. YouTube reaction videos shot straight to trending. Blogs scrambled to post hot takes before anyone else. Comment sections transformed into digital battlegrounds. Fans trading shots like soldiers on opposing sides of a war, and buried within the chaos, something bigger stirred. Viewers began sharing their own confession stories of betrayal, heartbreak, survival. Because this wasn't just TV drama anymore, it was a mirror. Proof that even when someone else tries to script your downfall, There comes a day when you snatch the pen back. Melody Holt didn't just take the pen, she rewrote the whole damn ending. As for Arionne, her next move remains a question mark. Maybe she keep posting cryptic shade. Maybe she'll vanish into silence. But one thing is undeniable after that moment, she'll never look at Melody the same way again. And the fans. They're not just waiting for the next episode. They're watching for the aftermath, the whispers off camera, the choices made when the lights are gone. Because the scene might be over. But the ripple effect, that's just beginning.